Greetings, fellow adventurers. Welcome back to my version of the Goldbound challenge. A challenge where we remain locked in Elwynn Forest until we're able to obtain enough gold to buy a WoW token. A clear condition of sorts to unlock a new neighboring zone for us to explore. Our hero can utilize all professions, gathering and crafting. We can loot mobs and purchase what we need from NPCs. In essence, anything within the boundaries of our current zone is fair game. Stormwind serves as our primary hub for auctioning, and it also lies within our current zone, making it fully available for us to use at our discretion. When we had last left off, I had embarked upon an adventure, delving into the damped and shadowed cells of the Stockade, in pursuit of precious silk. You see, this was part of a carefully devised plan to address our inventory storage challenges by crafting small silk bags, until I was abruptly halted by the realization that Elwynns sorely lacked the heavy leather that was required. After investing too much time into the pursuit of silk, leather, and advancing my tailoring skill levels, Golden was at last rewarded with several fortunate bag drops. I then turned my focus to optimizing mining routes and refined skinning strategies, doing what I do best, methodically stripping the forest of every plant and mineral that it had to offer. With the forest yielding an abundance of resources, I had expanded my transmog to include crafted pieces from blacksmithing, tailoring, and some delicate copper wire from jewel crafting, which perfectly complemented our copper bolts and glyph of stars. By the close of episode 2, my fortune had soared. From a modest sum of 58,000 gold, I'd rose to over 194,000, a staggering gain of 136,000 gold. More than 300 items had passed from my hands into the coffers of eager buyers, leaving my inventories all but emptied, and marking a triumphant chapter in our tale. If you'd missed the previous episode, it can be found in the description of this video. Following the last video, I began to notice my stockpile of auction house goods dwindling. Nearly every crafted item from tailoring to blacksmithing had been sold, and most of the transmog that I'd gathered, whether collected early on or acquired from vendors, had long since found buyers. My inventory was beginning to look rather bleak. Our first order of business is to recreate all the tailoring items and blacksmithing items that we discussed in the previous episode. You'll see them on the screen once again. This time, however, I'll be crafting several additional copies of each item, partly in hopes that they'll last longer and spare me from having to recraft them too soon. At the same time, I want them to sell quickly so we can pad our coffers. It puts me in a bit of a tricky spot, balancing longevity with profitability. While reviewing the limited items that we could craft through blacksmithing, I realized I completely overlooked rough grinding stones as an item to sell for profit. Up until now, I'd either sold the rough stone off as a raw material or used it to craft blasting powder to sell, which only offered a marginal increase in value. So when I noticed rough grinding stones were actually selling for a gold each on my realm, it genuinely caught me by surprise. Now that we have crafting out of the way, I decided it was time to return to the Stockades, because clearly, 47 runs spent chasing silk and walking away nearly empty-handed wasn't quite enough of a lesson. Nevertheless, there remains a peculiar sense of hope amid repeated failure. But that's the thrill of magic finding. Perhaps this time we'll at least scrape together a few minor items worth posting, and if fortune truly favors us, something of actual value might drop. At the very least, it's another opportunity to gather some data. A few hours in the cells should give us a clearer sense of gold per hour potential this place has to offer. Perhaps the Stockades was actually a hidden gem I've been blindly passing over all of this time. I spent approximately 3 hours running the Stockades. In Warcraft, players are limited to a maximum of 10 dungeon runs per hour. Once this cap is reached, you're temporarily locked out of all dungeon content until 1 hour has passed from the time that the first dungeon was entered. This typically plays out in one of two ways. You either spend a full hour clearing longer dungeons without ever hitting the cap, or if you're running quicker instances like the Stockades, you hit the 10 run limit well before the hour is up. In this case, it took me roughly 39 minutes to complete all 10 runs, after which I was locked out until the cooldown had expired. Let's break down how those 3 hours unfolded. Over the course of that time, I was able to complete a maximum of 30 runs, so 10 runs per hour as permitted by the instance lockout system. During the first hour, I had sold 903 gold worth of vendor trash. In addition, I obtained 29 transmog items that I kept, with a total market value of 1,464 gold. That averages out to about 50 gold per item. As for the less valuable green items, those typically worth under 10 gold, I just opted to disenchant them. This provided me with 37 greater eternal essences and 40 illusion dust, with an estimated value of 298 gold. There were also many other crafting materials I got throughout the run, like cloths and gems. These were valued at 174 gold. and I only kept 5 items that were really noteworthy of mentioning. The bandit shoulders, modestly priced at 72 gold regionally. They had a current listing on my server for 989 gold. A pair of burnished pauldrons, valued at 154 gold, and a buccaneer's robe, worth approximately 133 gold. I also kept 2 enchanting formulas with a combined regional value of 150 gold, but notably, one of them, the formula enchant two-handed weapon, lesser versatility, is currently listed for 3,700 gold on my server. Altogether, a total estimated value for the first hour comes to 3,348 gold, with the potential of selling for more depending on actual sales. The second set of runs proved to be even more profitable than the first, yielding a higher overall value. Well, no extraordinary items dropped, of course, this is just the Stockades. The overall haul still reflected a steady and respectable profit. Vendor trash this time came to 997 gold. I acquired 26 low-value transmog items that I kept. Those were estimated at 1,373 gold. Additionally, I disenchanted 23 items. This provided 224 gold in enchanting materials, alongside with 134 gold of crafting materials that were found. The higher valued items that I kept this time around were 3 brocade vests, each worth 200 gold, bringing in a combined total of 600. Notably, I also picked up 4 crafting patterns. The pattern Potion of Curing was valued at 216 gold, the pattern for a dark leather tunic, 83 gold, the pattern of Phoenix gloves, 375 gold, and the schematic for the shadow goggles for engineering, valued at 427 gold rather. This was the one I was excited about. I might craft some of these in the future. The total for the second set of runs comes to 4,429 gold. This factors in the value of the patterns. I may just hold on to these for now until I figure out how I'm going to manage professions going forwards, but we'll talk a bit more about that later. Strangely enough, the longer I lingered in the Stockades, the better the loot got. Almost like the mobs were finally starting to warm up to me and decided to cough up some loot out of pity. The third run outshined the previous 2, with noticeably better loot drops that made the grind feel a lot more rewarding, and almost intentional, as if RNG was finally starting to side with us. The third run yielded 935 gold in vendor trash. I collected 18 low-value transmog items, worth 1,034 gold. Crafting materials added another 156 gold, and I disenchanted a bunch of items, worth 238 gold. Among all of the drops were 3 rawhide tunics, with a regional value of 100 gold, so 300 gold combined. However, the current listings on my server were 299 gold apiece, so that's a potential for a much higher return. Notably, this run also included several valuable recipes and patterns. Pattern Phoenix gloves, 375 gold. 2 more schematics for shadow goggles, 700 gold total. Pattern for spider silk slippers, 467 gold. Pattern for green iron gauntlets, 182 gold. Formula enchant bracer minor strength, 50 gold. Formula enchant bracer lesser versatility, 254 gold. And a two-handed weapon lesser versatility, 194 gold. Run 3 came out to a total of 4,880 gold. While I can reasonably expect to average somewhere to the mid to low 4,000 range per hour, I'd hate to pin down a precise figure on this for a gold per hour. Many of these items are going to take time to sell, and while I generally realize their full value, the ebb and flow of the market means that anything can happen. Prices shift, trends change, and fortune is fickle. Now that we've wrapped up our time in the Stockades, I'd like to make one thing clear. Though I may speak of repeated runs as a grind, and it may also seem like I'm not enjoying myself sometimes, the truth is I genuinely love the process. There's something uniquely thrilling about it, a sense of anticipation, as if at any moment an extraordinary item might drop or an unexpected twist could occur. The hunt for rare treasure is what truly fuels my passion for this game and what captivates me about this challenge. Before I venture back out into the serene forests of Elwynn, ready to gather herbs, cleanse the woods, and battle beasts for treasure, I want to take a moment to discuss one particular creature, Gug Fatcandle. Nestled just behind the Northshire Abbey, this unassuming monster is often the first rare spawn that many players will encounter. At first glance, you might dismiss him as just another kobold, and I hesitated to mention him in my previous videos, but something happened along the way, and I've come to realize it's time to give this creature the attention it deserves. Gug Fatcandle is a rare spawn with a 30-minute respawn timer and a rather limited loot pool. However, what sets him apart from other kobolds is his chance to drop a small wooden hammer, an item with a mere 3% drop rate. This hammer is exclusive to Gug and is sought after by collectors aiming to complete their sets. When I first embarked on this challenge, I noticed that the hammer was being listed for nearly 100,000 gold on my server. Initially, I doubted that it would fetch this price. assuming it was just an overinflated value. Yet, I decided to go out and farm one anyways, and keep it listed on the auction house every single day. After all, there's always a chance a collector might come along who values their time more than just endlessly farming a rare spawn, and that's where we capitalize. With that being said, we're going to do our mailbox opening a little early this episode. We normally do it at the end, but you probably already guessed where this is going. Since the last episode, we've sold 273 items through the auction house, it looks like. On this first page, we have 13,800 gold worth of sales. It's looking to be a lot of smaller items because this is 100 items on this page. So far, we can see a native cloak sold for 950 gold. That's pretty decent. What else do we have here? We have a warrior's girdle for 950. Oh, we have 13 frayed knots at 2,963. Not anything crazy, like I said, just a lot of lower valued stuff that accumulated to 100 auctions on this page. Now get ready, we're going to accept everything on the first page, and just listen to this. Now if we look at the next set of 100 mails, this is where the money's at, 121,283 gold. Accounting for most of this was our small wooden hammer at 86,137. Looks like we sold a whole ton of frayed knots this day, 7,000 gold here, 5,000, 8,000, 7,900 here. Really good day for sales. We're going to scroll down a bit. Looks like a lot of tailoring items, some enchanting material, a lot of lower value transmog as well. At the very bottom we have a pair of fingerless gloves from Theros. So we're going to accept all of this. And the last 73 mails just looks like a lot of lower valued stuff. A lot of stuff that I got out of the Stockades. Some more enchanting material. Linen shirts. Kobold mining mallet that I sold for 10 gold. Probably shouldn't have did that. Just some more enchanting material and a pair of brocade pants. Overall, it was a great auction house pull. And I'll never get tired of that noise. Currently with 336,000 gold in my bags, and the WoW token price being 298,000 gold, I had done it. Golden had achieved his goal of farming the equivalent value of a WoW token, all without ever setting foot outside of the starting zone of Elwynn Forest. And to celebrate, Golden does what he does best, and that's dancing on the Goldshire mailbox. The journey came to an unexpected swift conclusion, with the sale of the hammer marking a sudden and surprising ending. And yet, despite the milestone, I couldn't shake the feeling that my time in Elwynn truly wasn't finished. The moment I saw that notification in the chat that the hammer had sold, I couldn't resist tempting fate once more, and decided to take another crack at Gug Fatcandle. It seems I was in the favor of the loot gods that day, for on the very first kill, another hammer had dropped. Though technically I didn't need it at this point, I was well beyond the mere value of a token. I had a hefty bag filled with a considerable amount of gold at this time. Prior to the hammer sale, I was working on tying up all the loose ends in the zone. When I posted episode 2, I realized that if I dedicated myself to the grind, focusing on swiftly selling materials and freight knots, Elwynn could be finished very soon, and so that's precisely what I did. I amassed over 2,000 copper bars, ready to be crafted into bolts, and well over 1,000 herbs for crafting glyphs. While I continued gathering to complete the zone, I still made a point to check our favorite rare spawns. Fedfennel, Theros, and Motherfang. On the 100th kill of Motherfang, I felt the sense of anticipation and decided to start recording, hoping for a stroke of luck. Unfortunately, the RNG gods were not in our favor for that milestone kill. However, I wasn't disheartened, as Golden had already been blessed with fortune on the 99th kill when we received our 5th Mother's Carapace of the challenge. A few minutes later, we then scored another 16 slot bag, and then less than an hour after that, Theros blessed us with another thuggish shield. What on earth is going on? Elwynn seems to be showering us with all the rewards we need just as the zone is near ending. After we have spent so much time here, this is an unbelievable turn of events, but a welcome one nonetheless. In the previous episode, I had mentioned I was considering the idea of creating crafting alts. A thought sparked when I stumbled upon a pattern for a stylish blue shirt that I was hesitant to learn, quickly realizing once I learned the pattern and later abandoned tailoring in favor of another profession, I would permanently lose access to that recipe. Another thought was once that I moved into more advanced zones, I could no longer freely swap professions as I had in Elwynn. If a valuable or unique pattern dropped, there was a real chance it might never be crafted. And if I wanted to hop between professions, it would require me to leave the current zone for hours at a time just to re-level them to match the current zone's profession. Given how often this scenario would likely occur, it quickly became clear that this approach no longer really made sense for the challenge. After all, a key part of what we do here is showcasing what can be accomplished within each zone, and that includes profession crafting. With this in mind, during the last episode, I asked for your thoughts in the comments about what you guys thought about crafting alts, and every response was supportive of the idea. So here we have 4 new members joining the team. Golden Smith, the Blacksmith and Engineer, Golden Weave, the Tailor and Enchanter, Golden Vial, the Alchemist and Leatherworker, Golden Scribe, the Scribe and Jewel Crafter. This should cover all of the professions. Now, there are some rules around these alts, of course. They can be leveled up. Profession skill levels are capped based on character level. They may only interact with trainers and NPCs in zones that Goldenbane has already unlocked, as I view them as part of the same adventuring party journeying together. Any gold or items acquired while leveling will not contribute to Goldenbane's zone goal totals. This challenge remains focused on what can be earned directly through him. However, they can receive crafting materials and patterns from Goldenbane, and in turn send crafted goods back to him. That is, after all, their intended purpose, to support Goldenbane's journey through specialized crafting. I have spent some time leveling these 4 alts primarily through gathering. You'd think I'd be sick of it by now, but it's honestly really relaxing, and I'll continue to do so until they reach level 35. At that point, they'll be able to achieve skill level 300 in any profession. If I choose to venture into expansion zones in the future, I'll reassess and consider leveling them further to match the progression. Now that our journey through Elwynn has officially come to an end, there are 2 final steps we must complete. First, we'll create a bank alt and send all of our remaining items to it, clearing the slate as we prepare to begin for the next zone with a fresh start. 0 gold in our bags and 0 items in our inventory. I'll continue to sell any leftover goods from each zone through our bank character. Over time, we can track the accumulated gold there and perhaps maybe find a fun and creative way to use it down the line. And while we're on the subject of gold, during the last 2 episodes, I mentioned that I would be giving away an amount equivalent to the WoW token once Elwynn was complete. That promise still stands. Since the current token value was 298,000 gold, I've rounded it up to an even 300,000 for the giveaway. To enter, all you need to do is be subscribed to my channel and have commented on any of the Zone Lock challenge videos that I've published so far. There's just one requirement though: you need to be playing on a North American realm in order to receive the prize. The winner will be announced during the next episode, giving everyone a bit of time to catch up and watch episode 3. At last, we've arrived at that pivotal moment that will determine Golden's next destination. The upcoming zone must be accessible by foot, meaning our viable options are Westfall, Redridge, and additionally Dunmoreau is on the table, as it can be reached via the Deep Run tram. Sadly, Duskwood is ruled out for now, as there is a river separating us, making it inaccessible by land travel. Now it's time to spin the wheel of fate, determining our future. Aw, no way. Looks like we're going to Westfall. Well, this should be a lot of fun figuring out this zone. Thank you, adventurers, for all your support. It really does mean a lot. And be sure to check out the previous videos linked in the description if you've missed any part of the journey. And until next time, may your bags be full, your rolls be lucky, and may gold always find you. I'll see you guys in Westfall.